Competition is for losers, or so the most successful founders quietly believe. Today on Insibook, we're unpacking Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, a playbook for going from copycat improvements to true breakthroughs. In the next few minutes, you'll learn how to think like a contrarian and be right, hunt for secrets others ignore, and design a monopoly on purpose through network effects, brand, technology, and scale. We'll break down definite versus indefinite thinking, why the power law, not averages, should drive your bets, and the 7 questions every world-changing company must answer before it scales. If you're tired of building another one of those, don't skip. By the end, you'll know how to spot vertical progress, choose a market you can dominate, and craft a distribution plan that actually wins, so your startup goes from 0 to 1, not 1 to none. Ready to build something only you can build? Let's start. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? This is not a question for a job interview. It is the fundamental question that should guide anyone who wants to build something new. Most answers are simply different takes on the familiar present. A contrarian thinker, however, sees the future not as an extension of today, but as a place that will be radically different and one that must be built. The future will not happen on its own. If our world is to become better, it will be because we invent new things, new ways of doing things that have never been done before. This act of creation is the most important task of our time, and it is the only path to genuine progress. Progress can take one of 2 forms. The first is horizontal progress, which means copying things that work. We can call this globalization. It is the process of taking one successful model, one smartphone, one restaurant chain, one political system, and spreading it from one place to 100 or 1,000. It is progress from 1 to n. The other form is vertical progress, which means doing new things. This can be called technology. Technology, in this broad sense, is any new and better way of doing things. Creating a new word processor is technology. So is developing a new form of clean energy or inventing an entirely new business model. This is progress from 0 to 1. The moment of creation, when something new is brought into the world, is singular. It is the moment of going from 0 to 1. For the past few decades, our world has been dominated by the logic of globalization, of 1 to n. We have been taught that the future is about convergence and flatness, about taking the best of what already exists and making it more widely available. But without the creation of new technologies, without the constant drive to go from 0 to 1, globalization is unsustainable. If every one of the billions of people in China and India were to live as Americans do today, consuming the same resources and generating the same pollution, the result would be an environmental and social catastrophe. Copying old models will not create the future we need. Only technology can. Yet in a strange paradox, the very places we expect to be the epicenters of technology, startups, Silicon Valley, have become risk-averse, shackled by a set of dogmas inherited from the last great technological boom and bust. The dot-com crash of the late 1990s and early 2000s taught an entire generation of entrepreneurs a series of lessons, which have since hardened into conventional wisdom. The first was to make only incremental advances. Grand visions were seen as the hubris that led to the bubble. It was better to be small and modest. The second was to stay lean and flexible, to treat entrepreneurship as agnostic experimentation without a firm plan. The third was to improve on the competition, to find an existing, successful product and make a slightly better version. The fourth was to focus on product above all else, to the exclusion of sales and distribution, under the naive belief that a great product will simply sell itself. These 4 ideas became the gospel of the modern startup world. But they are wrong. They are the reactions of a traumatized generation, not timeless principles. The opposite of each is more likely to be true. It is better to risk boldness than triviality. A bad plan is better than no plan. Competitive markets destroy profits, and distribution is as important as product. To build the future, we must unlearn these lessons and think for ourselves. The starting point for this new thinking is a critique of the idea that business is defined by competition. From our first economics classes, we are taught that perfect competition is the ideal state of a market. But from the perspective of a business, perfect competition is a nightmare. It is a state where no company has any market power, where all products are essentially commodities and where profits are driven down to zero. Think of the airline industry. In 2012, the average round-trip ticket cost $178, yet the airlines made only 37 cents per passenger trip. Compare that to Google, which in the same year brought in more than $50 billion in revenue. The difference is that airlines compete with each other to the death, while Google stands alone. Competition is for losers. If you want to create and capture lasting value, you don't want to be a player in a competitive market. You want to build a monopoly. Monopoly is a loaded word, often associated with illegal bullying or government-granted privilege. But we are not talking about that kind of monopoly. We are talking about a creative monopoly, a company so good at what it does that no other firm can offer a close substitute. Google is a monopoly in search. It hasn't had to compete with anyone for over a decade because its technology is so much better. A creative monopoly is new and powerful. It doesn't just dominate an existing market. It creates a new one. These monopolies are not a problem for society. They are the engine of its progress. The profits they generate are the reward for creating something new and valuable, and those profits give them the freedom to make long-term plans, to invest in ambitious research, and to care about their employees and their impact on the world in ways that a company struggling for survival in a competitive market never can. Businesses in competitive industries and monopolies tell different lies to protect themselves. A company trapped in brutal competition will try to differentiate itself by claiming it is unique. It will define its market as the narrow intersection of various smaller markets. We are the only British restaurant serving Himalayan cuisine in Palo Alto. A monopoly, on the other hand, will do the opposite. To avoid scrutiny from regulators and competitors, it will disguise its dominance by defining its market as broadly as possible. Google will not describe itself as a search monopoly. It will say it is an advertising company competing against newspapers and television, or a technology company competing against Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. The lie of the competitor is to claim uniqueness where there is none. The lie of the monopolist is to claim competition where there is none. If you want to find a real monopoly, look for the company that denies it is one. How do you build such a monopoly? It is not a matter of luck. All successful monopolies share a combination of 4 key characteristics. The first is proprietary technology. This is the most direct way to build an advantage. Your technology must be at least 10 times better than its closest substitute to overcome the friction of switching. Anything less is a mere incremental improvement that will get lost in the noise. The second is network effects. A product with a network effect becomes more useful as more people use it. Facebook is the classic example. Its value comes from the fact that all your friends are already there. To succeed, a network effect business must start with a very small market that it can dominate immediately and then scale deliberately. Facebook started with just Harvard students, a market it could conquer in a matter of days. The third characteristic is economies of scale. A monopoly gets stronger as it gets bigger because its fixed costs can be spread over a greater volume of sales. This is especially true for software businesses, where the marginal cost of producing another copy of the product is close to zero. The final element is branding. Creating a strong brand is a powerful way to build a monopoly, but it is not a starting point. It is the result of having substance and technology to back it up. Apple's brand is powerful because its products are genuinely superior in design and function. Building a monopoly requires more than just a good idea. It requires a plan. This brings us to one of the most fundamental divides in how we view the future: the difference between definite and indefinite optimism. An indefinite optimist believes the future will be better, but has no idea how. He expects progress to just happen, so instead of making a specific, bold plan, he diversifies his portfolio, collects options, and prepares for an unknown but brighter tomorrow. This describes the mindset of modern America. It's why finance has come to dominate our economy. It is the epitome of indefinite thinking, rearranging existing assets rather than creating new wealth. A definite optimist, by contrast, believes the future will be better because he has a concrete vision and a plan to make it so. He is an engineer, an architect, a scientist who sees a specific path to a better world and works to build it. This was the mindset that built the Golden Gate Bridge, the Apollo program, and the interstate highway system. The failure of the clean technology boom in the 2000s is a powerful case study in what happens when you apply an indefinite mindset to a problem that requires a definite solution. Everyone agreed that we needed better energy technology, but instead of focusing on a single, bold, 10x improvement in one area, the industry spread its bets. Venture capitalists invested in hundreds of companies with slightly different business models or incremental technological tweaks. They were diversifying, just as an indefinite optimist would. The companies themselves often lacked real technological breakthroughs. They were trying to compete in a commoditized market for solar panels, which were being made more cheaply in China. They had no plan for distribution, assuming a green conscience would be enough to sell the product. They failed to answer the fundamental questions every business must face, and as a result, vast sums of capital were destroyed. A definite future cannot be built with an indefinite attitude. To have a definite view of the future, you must believe that there are still secrets left to discover. A secret is a truth about the world that is important but not widely known. There are two kinds of secrets: secrets of nature and secrets about people. Natural secrets involve the undiscovered workings of the physical world. To find them, you must study the world directly. Secrets about people are things that people don't know about themselves or that they hide because they are unpopular or taboo. To find them, you must ask what people are not allowed to say. Believing in secrets is a contrarian act. The prevailing dogma is that everything important has already been discovered, that the frontiers are closed. If you believe this, you will not even look for secrets, but if you believe that there are still great discoveries to be made, you will start to see opportunities that others miss. A great company is a conspiracy to change the world. It is built around a secret that the rest of the world does not yet understand. Once you have a secret, a vision for a 0 to 1 company, the next step is to build it. And the first decision, the one that is hardest to change, is who you build it with. A startup is a team of people on a mission, and the founding team is its constitution. The three most important elements to get right from the beginning are ownership, possession, and control. Ownership refers to who legally owns the company's equity. Possession is who is actually running the company day to day. And control is who formally governs its affairs, typically the board of directors. Misalignment between these three groups is a recipe for conflict and failure. Everyone involved should be incentivized for the long term, which means that equity is the best form of compensation. But it must be allocated carefully because any resentment over who has what will fester and destroy the company from within. The culture of the company flows directly from its earliest members. You are not just hiring employees, you are building a tribe. The best startups are like cults, distinguished by a shared intense devotion to a common mission. This is why the PayPal Mafia, the group of early employees who went on to found a host of other successful companies like Tesla, LinkedIn, and YouTube, was so effective. It was not just a collection of talented individuals. It was a tight-knit group that had been through the trenches together and shared a specific worldview. To build a team like this, every single person must be passionately committed to the mission. Their role should be unique and clearly defined, avoiding the internal competition that arises when people have overlapping responsibilities. It is not about foosball tables and free sushi. It is about the joy of working with brilliant colleagues on a problem that truly matters. Even the most brilliant product and the most dedicated team will fail if they cannot reach their customers. The greatest blind spot for many technically minded founders is an aversion to sales and distribution. They believe that if they build a great product, customers will automatically flock to it. This is a dangerous fantasy. Distribution is as critical to a business as the product itself. There is a power law of distribution. One channel is likely to be an order of magnitude more effective than any other. Your job is to find that one best channel. For expensive multi-million-dollar products, like a SpaceX rocket, the channel is complex sales, involving a small team working for months or years to close a single deal. For less expensive enterprise products, it is personal sales, driven by a traditional sales force. For cheap consumer products, the only channels that work at scale are marketing and advertising. And for some products, the best channel is viral marketing, where the users themselves become the distributors. Whatever your product, you must have a concrete plan to sell it. A great product with no distribution plan will not go from 0 to 1. It will go from 0 to 0. As you build your company, you must constantly ask yourself a series of questions to ensure you are on the path to creating a durable monopoly. There are 7 questions that every business must answer. First, the engineering question. Can you create a breakthrough technology instead of just incremental improvements? Is it 10x better? Second, the timing question. Is now the right time to start this particular business? Is it at the forefront of a major technological shift? Third, the monopoly question. Are you starting with a big share of a small, well-defined market? It is always better to dominate a niche than to be a tiny player in a massive market. Fourth, the people question. Do you have the right team? Are they both technically skilled and able to work together effectively? Fifth, the distribution question. Do you have a way to not just create, but deliver your product to customers? Sixth, the durability question. Will your market position be defensible 10 and 20 years into the future? What will prevent others from coming in and eating your profits? And finally, the secret question. Have you identified a unique opportunity that others don't see? A company that can offer a compelling yes to all 7 of these questions is on the path to success. At the heart of every 0 to 1 company is a founder. We live in an age that mythologizes founders, yet we also have a deep suspicion of them. They are often strange, eccentric, singular figures. They can be both insiders and outsiders, possessing a deep knowledge of their field while also seeing it with fresh, contrarian eyes. The normal distribution of human traits, the bell curve, suggests that most people are average. But for founders, the curve seems to be inverted. They are often at the extremes, extremely brilliant or seemingly crazy, extremely charismatic or painfully awkward. This is not an accident. It takes a unique kind of person to see and pursue a secret that everyone else has missed. A company's identity is inextricably linked to the vision of its founder. The greatest danger for a company is to lose that singular vision, to be taken over by a board of professional managers who are skilled at 1 to N processes, but have no capacity for 0 to 1 creation. We are at a crossroads. The future of our civilization depends on what we build now. We can continue down the path of 1 to N, of globalization, without new technology. This is a path of imitation, competition, and ultimately, stagnation. As resources become scarcer and competition intensifies, it leads to conflict and decline. Or, we can choose the path of 0 to 1. We can choose to believe in a definite future, to search for secrets, and to build the new technologies that will make the world a richer, more peaceful, and more amazing place. This is not a task for governments or large bureaucracies. They are too slow, too risk-averse, and too mired in indefinite thinking. The creation of the future falls to a small, dedicated group of people bound together by a shared mission, a startup. The challenge is immense, but it is also the greatest opportunity we have. We cannot know exactly what the future will look like, but we know it will not happen by itself. We must build it. We must go from 0 to 1.